So data is everywhere. It's not only corporate world, education or whatever. It's there everywhere now. So data is making a big difference in all areas. It has become the USP for many companies. USPs are derived out of data. With that as a background, and of course, to really get to the topic of monetization, assuming that's the pinnacle of the position that anyone can get with data as a journey, like literally we have tons of data and how do we monetize them? There are a lot of steps along the way in terms of knowing what difference data can make to your business, how to deal with it without really compromising on privacy, security, etc., etc. And then how to make your organization be sensitive to data. Making a data organization itself is an initiative because you have to bring about a cultural change. A lot of us must have experienced that in our journey with data. And then what does the future hold? How do we build solutions and business models out of data that will stand the test of time? Now, we'll try to cover, we have about 20 minutes. We've been kind of shrunk from 30 to 20 now. So but it's only 3 of us, so we'll try to manage that. But I'd like to open the forum with a question around what are the top 3 areas where data makes a difference? How data is important to your business? Gyan, maybe you can start.
So, good afternoon, everyone. And I feel privileged with a part of the session. And Sudarsan, just to answer your question, and as you are rightly put the context that the data is the critical and no business or rather no activity can be done without data in the coming forward. So pharma is not an exception. I represent the pharma company and data is definitely very, very important for us. When we talk about the how data is important in terms of data monetization, I feel that the pharma industry, when you talk about manufacturing and that too generic, monetization directly it is still not there, but indirect monetization has become important. And when we talk about indirect monetization, that means we are talking about first and foremost thing, the compliance, because data integrity is one of the major issues for the pharma companies, and this can be addressed only if you have the digital data and your processes defined and all. And second comes definitely of your efficiency and cost optimization, and that makes your digital thing and data things more relevant. And third part, of course, linking all the processes, systems, equipments, and then bringing out the insight, which definitely brings a lot more insight. So when we talk about manufacturing, the IT and OT has been running in different silos. So linking IT and OT together and overall your compliance and then bringing out about efficiency and your productivity gain, that will make the data more and more relevant. So, yes.
Thank you. Sudheer, now Ebutor is data-driven distribution, right? I mean, data is the crux of the entire Ebutor framework. And we've seen phenomenal growth in that space. And obviously, it's essential to Ebutor. But can you throw some insights on what difference, how data makes really the big difference in Ebutor business?
Sure, Sudarshan. So first of all, Ebutor is an associate company of SuneraTech. This is a 3-year-old late-stage startup that's transforming the way distribution of consumer goods is done in India. We are the largest general trade distributor of India. We deal with over 70 brands. Some of the brands are sitting here, including Unilever, P&G, and a lot of others, in helping them as an additional channel in taking their curated products to small convenience stores. I mean, people sitting here, we all shop in modern trade, supermarkets, and some of us shop on online, big basket, and so on and so forth. But you'll be surprised to know that less than 10% of sales in India happen through supermarkets. And less than 1% of sales happen through online platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, Big Basket, and so on and so forth. India is still a convenience store market. 90% of the sales happen through Kirana stores, neighborhood convenience stores called Kirana stores. And brands don't have a complete means to reach out to all of them. They do a great job. Unilever, P&G, and so on and so forth. Brands are doing a great job in reaching out to a majority of this, but then there's a vast majority of them which are inaccessible. They're non-profitable for a distributor to go and give products to, and that's our target segment. So we deal with those shops where the brands are unable to go. And we deal that with data science and technology. We have over 150 warehouses across India. Any product that's listed with us will be on the shelves of these shops in less than 10 days. We take orders on a weekly basis. We curate products. We curate about 400 products for each geolocation where there are 200, 300 shops in that locality. And these 400 products are those ones which would sell within a week. And absolutely data is essential for me to curate such 400 products which are so important for that region to consume. And this is going to help both the retail outlet because they're going to conserve their cash. Instead of investing into 3,000 SKUs, filling up the shop, they can invest into the right amount of products because we are helping them with the data. And they can conserve the cash and rotate their cash faster. From a brand's point of view, again, it really does help them to introduce new products, to design new market strategies with the data that we supply to them.
Excellent. So we just asked him a question about how data is important to him. He threw about 10 numbers in front of us right away. That's data-driven business, guys. There we go. Thanks for this. Larry, you come from a different world. You are in the business of connecting with communities across the globe, making a difference to their life. How data plays a role in your world?
Yeah, so we're DAI, we do economic development or international development, which is not like system development. It's pretty much, not the opposite, but it's very different, and it's very much a hands-on, on-the-ground effort in the countries and developing countries. So for us, I mean, data is important. So first of all, we need to understand what's going on in the world. We need to understand what our customer is looking for, and that helps us craft how we're going to go in and implement programs, and frankly helps us win business, right? And then data is what we use both to understand how we should go about implementing our work in the field, how we're performing activities, but even more importantly, how do we measure how well we're doing? What we would call in development is impact. Are we making or having the positive impact that we think we will have based on the kind of work that we're doing? And then how are we measuring that? You know, we'll go into a country, we work with farmers, we'll help farmers identify good agricultural practices. So is that increasing their yield? We have to be able to collect data before we're working with the farmers and afterwards. Are we working with the governments to help them create an enabling environment? Are they able to create policies that are open markets and make it easier for farmers and markets to be successful and increasing the GDPs in those countries? We have to be able to measure that, and we have to be able to measure our activities and have they led to this positive impact that could have a significant, positive impact on the entire country. So that's important, and then for us, the data that we have, if we are successful and we know what we've done and how well we've done it where, we can create approaches or methodologies that we can quickly replicate, so we accelerate how quickly we can have impact. And then based on that, we can win more business, right? We can get more customers, and we can be doing more of what we do, because we're a very mission-driven company. We're not necessarily looking to make a lot of money, although that would be really nice. But the people who work for DAI are people who want to make a difference in the world.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Larry. That's a good insight. Now we'll come back the other way around. I have a specific, so 2 in a row for you. I have a more specific question for you. Since of the 3 people who are there, you probably work a lot more with government data, people data, and stuff like that. In that context, then privacy and security and all those things come into play. And that's one of the big challenges that data-driven companies face, because you collect so much data and you start putting them to use, then you have to get really, really careful about how you put them to use without infringing around the privacy of the individuals or the data that you have collected, and ensuring that the data doesn't go out in mechanisms that it should not. What are your views on the security and the privacy angles of data?
Yeah, so it's very challenging. So we're not working directly with governments, so we're not holding government data, but we are working directly with a lot of citizens in the countries where we're working. So, and we're a very dispersed organization. We are not that centralized, So the projects, it used to be in the old days, we could just send someone out into the field with a suitcase full of money and they would implement. Now we're working in a much more connected environment, so we do have some kind of oversight, but in the end, it's really about our policies. We even have to be smarter than our customer at times, because they might ask us to collect and share information about the people that we're working with. And we could be working in a country like Afghanistan, where if that information or that data fell into the hands of the wrong people, the people we're assisting will be targeted. So for us, it's very strong policies, so people understand what they can collect. We try to, as far as PII and GDPR, those are probably our two riskiest areas when it comes to data security.
Okay. So, but one follow-on question on that. So, are you usually in your line of working, are you restricted to keep the data in the geography where you're working because of the local regulations and sensitivities of this nature, or you put them on a global cloud and manage them that way?
So most of the countries where we're working, they don't necessarily have a GDPR-like regulation. So what we're trying to do is not collect any information about the people, so we anonymize as much as we can. So it's not, you can't associate an activity or assistance we provided, what we call a beneficiary, by their name. Okay. So for us, it's just being smarter about the data that we're collecting and how we're collecting it. Can we, because we have to report out to our customers that we have done something, and we can still do that without naming the people we've done it for.
Okay, good, thank you. Any comments on that, Sudheer, from your side, since you also deal with larger communities?
We actually don't deal with consumer data at all. So our data is primarily centered around the retail transactions, by geo coordinates, of course by categories, subcategories, price points, LUPs and all that. But of course, we do have necessary security protocols, privacy protocols in place in the platform itself.
Very good. And from Gyan, from your perspective, I have one question to you. Regarding the culture, pharma industry does have a lot of regulations around, especially for people who are operating companies for products that are used in US, etc. You have DAs, other regulatory authorities coming into play. And then the data becomes, you have to have a cultural change to drive data-driven programs in such places, because you have those hardened processes that are put in place to say this is how you do business, this is how you do things. And to kind of challenge that today and modernize it with data-driven thought process, etc., you require a cultural change. And how do you think in Aurobindo or other pharma companies in the industry in general, such organizational culture change can bring about the data initiatives or move them forward?
So I will put, there are two things to drive it, and especially the regulated industries like pharma. The first and foremost thing is the compliance. On the compliance side, if whatever the data you are creating out of your processes, right from the drug development to the research and development, and then doing this the exhibit batches, then manufacturing processes, different equipments, readings, review, your quality test, laboratory test, packaging, then shipment, all those data you are capturing in one or other applications. Pharma happens with industry where over a period some solutions have been developed or tools have been developed in a very silo ways. Especially on the manufacturing, and if you take R&D side, it was never integrated and is still today not integrated. And those records have been always on the physical form pages and all. And you will not believe that we create tons of pages, tons of data. We almost print in a year more than 12 crores of pages, physical pages. So that shows that, okay, how much the amount of opportunity for the automation still exists. But one of the barrier for this is that why we can't go on this. When you go for any kind of automations, it needs two things. Number one, the compliance part, the regulatory compliance parts. I think the regulatory authorities also, they have to adopt to this ecosystem where these kind of things get accepted. Wherever there is a decision point where manual intervention is needed, where somebody has to review it, sign it, physical presence is needed, it becomes difficult to automate. Wherever it is a kind of a process which is redundant, that is yes, no, move on this, and that doesn't need regulatory compliance manual interventions, you can still automate that. But in the pharma, to bring this changes, it is mainly driven from on the OT side, from the regulatory compliance. So in India, especially in the last 5 years, if you take, there has been a lot of issues. not only India, in the other countries also, but India happens to be one of the pharma hub or the pharmacy of the hub. We have a lot more issues in terms of data integrity, and data integrity is primarily driven by the issue of the fact that when you are manufacturing certain batch and when drugs is getting sold, how your processes, each processes from the time you are sourcing the material and manufacturing and ship to the end consumer, it has been all linked and it is followed with the standard operating procedure and the standards which is given by the FDA and all. In that way, there has been a lot of changes. Companies like us and many of our peers, they started looking for going on the digital wave. So nowadays, when 5 years back when I came, the LIMS was running in silo, quality management system was running in silo, and there are some other applications which are capturing data related to, let's say, hygiene factor, what is the temperature, what is the humidity and all these things. But now it is getting integrated to some of the critical factors. And those data is becoming important for your compliance part. That is the one part. And second, the pharma manufacturing companies in India, we basically have thriving in the world because of the cost optimization. We produce better quality drugs at a very lower cost. So if you want to achieve that, the cost optimization part, you need to look at the automation. And you need to look at that productivity and efficiency part. And that's how these things will be driven. However, overall, when you look for changes in the pharma, there will be great resistance. It is not in the pharma, in every industry will be the same. It's the human psychology that any change will be basically resisted. And we are not different from that. But in manufacturing scenario, what happens that most of the major workforce remains at the operator level. They are not like the IT professionals who are very educated and they can relate the change very fast. So learning and development, training and making them aware of the changes, that's needed far more effort. And we are going through the changes in terms of, let's say this, on the data-driven organizations. So what we started is that things which is related directly digital or related to our compliance, and wherever we can make and assure that the compliance is better addressed, there we have focused and integrated those applications. And things which are periphery, like supply chain, your HR, your recruitment, your training, and of course the general department like admin, HR, IT, there we have taken lot many changes and making them to make a more data-driven organization. Yes, yeah.
Thank you. 12,000 pages, huh? A lot of pages that you...
Every...
12 crores of pages.
Yes.
You missed the video in the morning where Ravi was in the business of taking all the papers and throwing them away and converting them into digital technologies.
No,
I think you needed modern Krishna now in the pharma industry.
Just one more statement to Sudarsan that why it is still not happening. And this is not the case with the Aurobindo only. Companies have gone a step ahead or a step behind. A very small portion of that process manufacturing automation. What happens that first these pages will be created, then it will be scanned, and it will be put in the digital format so as we can preserve it for a longer time. If you don't do this, storing the paper for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, because there is data retention life cycle is not there, how long you need to store. So long your drug is in the market, you need to still maintain those data till the life cycle of the entire drug. And this, to a large extent, we have reduced, but it will be further reduced in the coming years. And this goes with the entire ecosystem. When I said that ecosystem means the regulatory authorities should also come forward and to bring these things, and then people will adopt it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'll give the last question to Sudheer. Future with data. For your industry, the space in which you operate, what does data mean, or data monetization mean for the future?
Sure. Before I get into my business, I just have an experience to share with pharma company. We were in my earlier engagement sometime back. We were setting up a large ODC for GSK, a global pharma company, in Hyderabad, in a first floor of a building. We did the entire ODC setup, all the entire things were done. But we missed out on one thing, that they needed to store 120 millions of papers in the ODC as a mandated GXP compliance practice, right? The safe that had to carry these papers was 3 tons. It was huge. And it wouldn't fit into the lift, nor it would go up the stairs. I mean, we struggled, then we finally shifted the ODC to ground floor. And we decided that all the pharma ODCs would be in the ground floor.
Pharma experiences are unique. I remember one of those process guys who can ensure that these things kind of work. I used to work for Sanofi. The guy used to have a little thing outside his office which says, resistance is futile, you will be assimilated. So
Well,
that's,
yeah.
that's the approach with which they do that.
So coming back to our business, I mean, it's born in data. Data is our business. We're thriving because of data, right? So we have taken, it's a journey. There's nothing like a goalpost that we'll have to go and achieve that. It's a journey, but we clearly see three-phased approach in the journey. We are right now in the basic phase. We are just figuring it out, our transaction data with the location context and with the time context. So because we have a location context in our business, unlike large retail outlets like Walmart or Metro, we go to the locality and deliver. So we know what is selling there. So we have a location context, we have a time context, and we have a transaction context in terms of what kind of products are being sold there. So by correlating these three, we are drawing intelligence to better place products in these places. That's phase one for us. We still have to do a lot of work in this. The second phase, which is coming up, is to correlate this data with external data factors. There's a huge census data out there. Census is coming up again next year. Census gives us demographic profile of every location context. The age diversity, the gender diversity, income diversity, literacy diversity, religious diversity. I could take a number of these contexts and get into a better predictability of what would sell when, where. That's the second phase. In the third phase, we're looking at sensory data. We're looking at camera systems placed in, let's say, Kirana stores, observing the customer's movement. Who is coming in, what time, what are they buying in, can we scan those products, can we capture the images, can we translate that into information, and use that in such a manner that not only the brands, but also the stores would get a lot of benefit from it. So to me, there's a vast potential. It's just a journey for us.
Wow, yeah. That's future looks very, very interesting, right? Good. Thanks. I think before we close out the session, questions from audience?
This question is to Sudheer, right? You did mention about Ebutor and the additional channel that you're providing to the principals, right? For taking the products to various retailers. My question is largely to find out, most of these principals would already be having an established channel of network, either the distributors or the retailers. And therefore, would this additional channel that you're creating disturb the existing? It would be a big concern for the principal. Would it be giving an incremental sale, or it would be a diversion of sale from one distributor or a dealer to Ebutor? And the commercial implication, which means that is there an additional incentivization to be given to Ebutor over and above what is normally in the distribution model that the principal operates on, which would mean that they would indulge into a lot of undercutting thereafter?
Sure. Thank you. A loaded FMCG related question here.
Yeah, it's like, now you're going to get half.
No,
I was hoping to finish this in 20 minutes.
I know. No, I'm going to keep it short, but I'll have to answer it in very generic terms. But the distribution, especially in general trade, happens through distributors. And this has been going on for 70 years. But then, the margin that's been given to the distributor enables them to distribute it to only very few shops. Large brands can go up to 35-40%. They may claim a little bit more, but that's debatable. Smaller brands have 20%, 15% of direct distribution coverage. We are not after direct distribution coverage. We do not disturb your direct distribution coverage. We don't disturb your GT revenue at all. What we do is to extend your direct distribution coverage by taking away business from unorganized wholesale markets that cater to the smaller shops, the B-class outlets, C-class outlets, D-class outlets that are there tucked into smaller lanes, low-income colonies, and so on and so forth. That's our market. Of course, there are a lot of brands that are coming up. There are brands that are online only. There are brands that are foreign brands trying to come into India. For them, we are like a exclusive national distributor taking their products all over India. That's number one. The number two, we are an aggregator. which means we are dealing on behalf of 70 brands. When my truck is going to deliver products to the shop, I'm carrying almost 400 SKUs belonging to 70 brands into that particular shop. Now tomorrow, we have an example, the Montex pens. Montex is the #2 pen maker in India. They've always been supplying to stationery shops. In the last 30 years that they've been operating, they probably would have reached up to 1 lakh outlets, 100,000 outlets. They've never gone to typical Kirana stores to sell pens, because Kirana stores' appetite for pen perhaps is only few pieces a week. People don't go to Kirana store to buy pens. What we have done is, we have opened up a channel for them into Kirana stores. Because my truck can carry 4 pens, 5 pens, placed in a shop, which a normal distributor will not be able to do. At best, they can carry an inner pack. Because we are an aggregator, we are able to do that. And with this, we watch the tertiary uptake, and then go back and give the feed into the brand to see which markets are going up because of this distribution, which markets are not receptive to their pens, and then help them to increase the distribution. From a monetary perspective, we do of course negotiate a better margin than what you pay to the distributors, but it doesn't have to be equivalent to the cost of direct distribution for yourself, which can be ranging up to 18% when you go to the bottom of the pyramid, convenience stores.
Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, one market that Sudheer missed out, that Ebutor can be used, that every one of you can become Lakshmi Manchu, launching your own brands on Ebutor natively.
Absolutely. If you guys know any good brands that are present only in one particular region, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, Bombay, let us know. We can take you nationwide in 15 days. Thank you.
Any more questions?
My question to Sudheer. So how you are penetrating the rural market of India, how you are acquiring data, the first point. The second point, how you are validating those data. And the third point, how you, what is the ROI of after validation? Means, what is the accuracy level of your data once you acquire the data itself, and how you are penetrating those things?
Sure. Again, 3 questions in one. I'll go one by one. From a warehouses point of view, we said we have 150 warehouses, but we don't own any of them. We are like Oyo rooms. We are like Uber. These are third-party, dedicated, exclusive infrastructure partners for us, who set up their warehouses for us, who operate the warehouses, who also invest into stock and take the risk of last mile logistics and collection of cash. So we go on appointing these distributing partners in different areas. So for me to go and appoint a distributor partner in Anantapur or Vijayanagaram or Coimbatore or Kochi is as simple as 10 days. We have a checklist, we train them on our technology, they have to use my technology, we audit them, then we appoint them, they pay us the advance, we send the stock. So we are adding up almost 30, 40 distributors a month, which would keep on penetrating up to each and every district. We have 672 districts. We are right now at about 30, 35 districts. We have a long way to go from that. So that's what will take us to rural areas very easily. In terms of data accuracy, we are a technology-only company. There are no paperwork. We absolutely use 0 paper, except for invoicing that goes along with the trucks, which is a mandatory GST or e-way bill requirement. So all the orders are punched into our app from the location of the shop. And I keep watching their transaction history week after week, then I'll be able to predict what is the tertiary uptake in that particular area. And if I add up the geo coordinates of that and do a geofencing, I pretty much can get an intelligence out of what's selling in this geofence. And that will only get richer when I do more and more transactions.
One last question from to Larry. Larry, you've been in Bethesda, Washington, D.C. for the last 45, 50 years. For the first time, Jim and you have looked at India as the hub for data monetization, and setting up the way you can, can you shed some light for the audience here why you're using India as a location for data monetization?
Sure. So, you know, DAI, we're a company, we've been around for 50 years. We have, you know, we've invested quite a bit in IT, from our perspective anyway. But also what happens is we get to a certain point in the business and we need to really change the way that, you know, the business changes the way that the business is working, right? And then IT has to be able to respond to that. And we have to do it in a way that, you know, a mission-driven company normally means the margins are relatively low. So we have to do that within sort of what would make most sense for the business. So we realized a few years ago we need to do something that's transformational. And we couldn't necessarily support our existing systems and be able to do something new and important for the future of DAI if we were going to be hiring a bunch of people in Bethesda, Bethesda, Maryland, which is where we have our headquarters, or in the States. So I've had a relationship with SuneraTech through the IT team for a little bit over a decade. We've had teams of people in India working for us, teams of people from Sunera who've been working in our offices in Bethesda, and we decided to really increase or expand our relationship, make it more strategic, and really build out the data analytics teams that we need to be able to support our global business, as opposed to 20 years ago, we were just a U.S. government business, you know, U.S. government contractor. So yeah, so we've been really doubled down on this relationship over the last year. We've increased the team quite a bit, and we're going to continue to do so. But yeah, it's been so that's. I hope that answers the question. You're welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thanks, audience. Thanks.